G'day, Schultzy. Mate, it's the two ordinary cops. Where I'm in Port Macquarie today. You're in Brisbane. How you going?
Yeah, good, mate. Good. And, mate, did you notice the anniversary yesterday?
I did. For those playing along at home, and the beauty of our anniversary is it's St. Paddy's Day, which is kind of relevant. So yeah, it's been 12 months since we released the podcast as of yesterday. So 17th of March 2024, we were downstairs at your place at Indooroopilly. We launched, I think, 4 episodes pretty quickly.
Yep.
And I remember being a little bit nervous, mate. Like I'm not really a public figure.
Actually, I
Um,
think I think you were shitting yourself, mate.
I was, mate. Well, there's something there's something to be said about putting yourself out there. Like this is just me and you talking. We're opening ourselves up to potentially criticism, not legalities. We're not stupid, but certainly a lot of criticism, and I don't
Yep.
particularly need any criticism. I don't think I did anything that majorly out there. So that's just it. And by the very nature of policing, there are critics, and we've had some funny comments
Yep.
from they're probably tubby little men who live in their who live in their mother's basement and get on the internet. So we don't really give a rat's ass what they think, but it's still you're putting yourself out there. So so 12 months of that, and I think we've gotten used to it. And I'm hoping that they're improving. Certainly, the sound quality's improved from the early days.
Well,
So
mate, now we've got this good platform, and I mean, some of the comments, most of them on YouTube, they're just stupid people that have got a gripe against police. Not so much
yeah.
us, but just trying to pick points. But we don't even buy into it. So
But the
it's
thing is, we're absolutely open to a good discussion with an intelligent person who has a gripe. That's fine. That no trouble at all. That's good. If they
yeah,
come from a position of good faith and they want to actually actively engage in discourse, that's fine. But when it's just morons hating, then whatever. But I mean, it's been overwhelmingly pretty well received, I think, and that's the idea. We're not here to. We're sort of saying we enjoyed it, mate. So we're sort of talking about what we liked about it. Criticise where we thought, which is kind of relevant for today. I think we've got something to talk about today, but we'll get to that.
yep,
So yeah, but 12 months in as of yesterday. So sorry, I should say we're recording today on Tuesday. This is obviously going to be released Friday, but it's Tuesday the 18th of March that we're recording now. So it was the 17th of March that we released it last year, 2024. So yeah. And what have you been up to, mate?
mate. Well, apart from work, it's just easing off, especially after the cyclones passed now. So life's getting back to normal. But mate, we've had a few people contact us over the last few days, which is really good. And look, mate, I'll start off with a new one. So that's from Brock White. Shout out to you. He's an auxiliary firey at Millmerran, which is just west of Toowoomba for anybody that's unsure where that is. So that's close
Yep.
to our hometown, mate.
I
Yeah.
did certainly have a great uncle and auntie who lived in Millmerran, so yeah, I'm fully aware of it. Shout
Look,
out to Sutton's Tyres.
yeah.
Yeah,
And he just said he's been listening since episode 4, and our talk about car accidents, fatals really helped him with his first fatal that he attended only a few months ago. So, and look, that's part of why we do what we do. It's more about information, so people can actually you're not alone in this.
no.
In everything you do. So it's more about just getting the information out there so everybody can actually share it. We're sharing it across many shoulders, and I think that's a kind of one of the points we came from. What do you reckon?
No, definitely, it's the normalisation of this experience. So that's good. That's I think you said he's a volunteer firefighter.
Mm.
Yeah, so
Yep.
me too. So that's it's and I see that I get very protective of the other guys, especially around anything to do with real trauma to humans. It's putting out a fire is one thing. A bushfire can be a very intimidating thing, but dealing with human tragedy and human death is a whole new level of filth. So, hats off to him, especially if he's a volunteer fire. He didn't sign up for full time. He's just there to help his community when outside of his normal work. So, absolutely, mate. Big shout out. That's good on you. And the feelings. I think what we want to convey is I've seen the toughest human beings I've ever known, the bravest, toughest, scared of you. They're scared, but they appear fearful of nothing. One of them killed himself. So it's a real thing. It doesn't matter who you are. This stuff is not fun. So there's a lot of people out there who know exactly what you're talking about, but they're not immediately obvious.
Yep. Yeah, mate, that's exactly right. And look, another one, Damo Doug's, mate. We've got to have a beer with this guy. He's actually down in Tasmania at the moment, doing some emergency services games. So I'm not sure whether that's drinking games or not, but I
I'd
imagine these
say
will be
I've
quite
engaged in
quality
plenty of emergency services games.
up.
There you go.
Yeah. and
Yeah, very good.
and also, from here's another one, Caleb. Here's the chippy. He's a volunteer as well with emergency service. So all those people, like, hat off to you for volunteering to help your community. And I think that's we're pretty strong in that. In what
Actually,
we
yeah,
do.
one thing I'll just float with the volunteers is that, and I can say this with a little bit of authority because I'm now a volunteer and I've been a full-time first responder for 15 years of my life. So just go easy on the full-time guys. Volunteers can quite often be very quick to criticise. There's an element of coldness to volunteers, and I've seen that firsthand, and that's fine. But understand it comes from a place of you haven't earned their trust, so they don't know who you are. That doesn't mean they're assholes. It doesn't mean we've spoken about how I had a complaint from the SES or the NTES in Alice Springs about the way I spoke at a job once, and it was to do with pay, and it was a brief conversation where one of the other members said, "Oh, geez, I saw you today. You're back out, mate." And I said, "Yeah, mate, no trouble on double," because I've been called out in my role as my job as a coronial investigator to a dead person who died on a mountain and had to be rescued by the vertical rescue team from SES. And a complaint came within the NTES, or it's SES everywhere else, it's NTES in the Northern Territory, obviously, that we were skiding about our pay rates. And it wasn't that at all. It was just a nonchalant comment about, yeah, mate, I'm here, no trouble on double. I'm back out, I'm going to come to work.
Yeah.
Just understand that, yeah, okay, we're not taken away from volunteers. I'm a volunteer firefighter myself. We do it. There is a big difference, though, between full-time emergency services and volunteer services. Volunteer services are absolutely essential, but you've got your day job, and that's your volunteer role, and it's priceless. But the guys doing it all the time, it's a whole different role. So, yeah, I just wanted to sort of get that out there.
Yeah, exactly. And look, yeah, it is important because, and like we've said many a time before, if you run into a police officer or any emergency frontline services that work at full time, they have seen a lot of shit. So our approach to things will be different, just from the amount of shit we see every day in, day out.
Yeah,
And you don't know what they've dealt with, like the 5 minutes before, or an hour before, or the days before. So,
yeah,
or the many years for some.
absolutely. Sorry, and I'll just finish off what I started before. Excuse me. That goes the other way as well. For the full timers, you guys are getting paid. This is your job. You've got a full time crew. You work with them all the time. Your volunteers don't have that. They all know the other people in their volunteer unit, and they could be close friends with those people, but they're doing that job for nothing.
Yep.
They're turning up out of the goodness of their heart and a sense of community responsibility. So I should flip it both ways.
Yeah.
Just respect. You come from a different avenue, but just think about the other. So yeah, that's all I've got to say about that.
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
mate, you actually make a very good point, and I think we spoke about that earlier on, and it's what you've got to think about, even when, like, say, within the police force. I always thought about what my superintendent or commander had to deal with in relation to what I thought what we should do, and so on and so forth, because you've got to understand everybody is facing the job from a different perspective, and you've got to try and understand that perspective, so you don't, I suppose, shoot from the hip, so to speak.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So, mate, in talking about that, we're going to get onto the discussion for today.
Oh, Schultzy, you're making me cranky.
Mate, well, mate, I was pretty upset. So, for all the listeners, we have somebody. We won't mention which jurisdiction.
No
At this
jurisdiction,
point.
no names, completely anonymous. But
Yep.
this is a current serving police recruit. Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
And we're very disturbed from what we've heard that's going on within the recruiting. We spoke about there's basically from a couple of episodes ago. We spoke about how they dropped the standards of people going into recruits and all that sort of thing. And Damon and I were having a discussion before we started this episode, and our whole podcast, we're putting it down to we want to we're in it for the welfare of the officers that work in frontline services and emergency services, and for the community. And Damo, do you reckon you can put that any better?
No.
No. Basically, and that came from what I suppose what Cosgrove had on top of his wall. Our podcast. My personal thing is when I left the police, one thing I wanted to do was do everything I could to make the job better and safer for people that are on the road, the frontline services, and the community as a whole. That I think we had that while we're in the police, and that's what I mean. I've carried that on when I left. So, and I imagine you're similar, Damo.
Yeah, and what you just mentioned about Peter Cosgrove, who had that basically an intent statement. Why are you here? For a safe and secure East Timor. Yeah, that was a very simple statement. That's why you're here. So the beauty of a very broad, very simple statement is it gives you and everybody who works for you what does success look like? So that's your intention. Your intention as the commander of that entire deployment was a safe and secure East Timor. Well, I think we can throw out, and I still deal with, with the RFS stuff. All emergency services deal in objectives and intention. So an incident controller at a bushfire sets their intention. And basically that intention is what governs the way that people make decisions in the other areas within the structure that is the response to whatever's going on, the bushfire. And it's an all hazards response. So that could be anything. It could be the floods. It could be a cyclone. It could be a bushfire. It could be a mass shooting, which is what I've responded to in the Northern Territory, where the AIMS system was put over the top. So I think it's relevant that we set our intention, and that is the promotion of understanding or something similar between the community and emergency services. And look, focusing on police because that's our primary experience. And very well tied to that is the welfare of people in emergency services and the community. Because not all interactions with the community by police are fun, and they can't always be. That's not what we're about. We're there to protect the public from potentially very dangerous people at times, and that doesn't always happen with a cuddle. So it's a pretty broad intent, but that's what we roll, and that's how I've always felt. I've never sort of said it, and we've never said it, but you sent me a text message before we started recording that had what's currently occurring within recruiting, and I just can't not talk about it. No. Like I said, we're not political. I don't give a shit what political party you're a part of or who you support. But at the end of the day, you've got to live in a world that's realistic enough to know that you need police who are capable of dealing with what they're dealing with. I'm not saying immediately out of the college, but they're capable of developing skills over an experienced career where they can help the public, and certainly as a team work together to make sure the public's safe and to bring serious offenders and everybody before the courts who need to be caught without fear or favour. All those throwaway, it's an oath. It's not a throwaway line. Yeah, I'm not normally sentimental, but that you're there to protect the community. So anyway, do you want to read it out to us, mate, and we'll tell everyone what we're going to talk about tonight?
Yeah. So basically, we and look, this also for anybody else that's listening, police officers, whether you're involved in the college or you're in the college or you've just come out of the college,
in academies. Well, we don't care.
Yeah.
What jurisdiction? And we will give our absolute personal assurance of complete anonymity, but we just need to know this. It's just too serious.
It is. Yeah. Definitely. So get in contact with us. Look, so basically this one's come through. It says PT is now completely optional and not mandatory. Fitness standard is piss poor. 5.7 on the beep test.
And you could basically walk that. You could almost walk that.
Yep. It was 7. Was it 7.1? No, 9.1. 9.1.
Yeah. 9.2. No, it was 9.2 to get in.
That's right.
And at Duntroon, I'll give it, just to exist at Duntroon, you had to get a minimum 10. And if you got 10 on the beep test at Duntroon, you were considered a fat oaf.
Yeah,
So that was the standard in 2002 when I was at Dunfern. In policing, it was 9.2, even to
that's right.
exist.
Yeah. So when you look at 5'7", that is disgusting.
You can walk it. You can walk 5'7".
That's right. Parade of the morning is basically optional. If you don't feel up to it, you don't have to. And that is not. Police are about. Um, it's
Duty.
structure, discipline. Discipline is rocking up and doing your job because you have to for the benefit of the community. So if you don't feel up to it, you get your ass out of bed and go and do it anyway because that's what you signed up for.
Yeah.
Um,
Actually, what we might do, we'll comment later, but I reckon just read it out because otherwise we're just going to yell at each other.
that's true.
Yeah.
International recruits become very common, and there's quite a few of them coming in. It, People seem to get multiple chances rather than for rather major fuck ups. So with very little consequences. So if you fuck up in the job, basically it's just brushed under the carpet, which is serious enough. So model recruits have failed their exam and then failed the resit, which is another massive problem because you need to know your legislation. Same with fitness, multiple failed and haven't been able to pass yet. So I think this is quite a number of weeks into the police, like probably a month or two, or even three, and still not able to pass the fitness. I mean, we had to pass the fitness from the very start and go on from there. So I said it's very rare. Few people can see standing on their own 2 feet. So basically, that's the information we've got at the moment. Now we are going to get more. We're going to have a chat to this person later on and get some more information. But like I said, to anybody, if you have information for us, it will be completely anonymous. We I suppose treat you like an informant because we care about what the police officers are coming out. And I'll just give a quick thing that I think I mentioned to you during the week, Damo. I saw a thing from the politician saying, we've got 170 new officers coming out of the academy, as that being something that they can get votes on. The problem is if 70 of those are far substandard, or 100 of those are substandard, well, that's nothing to talk about because the problem is that puts the community in danger. Anybody that's actually in risk, it could be a home invasion, it could be a sexual assault, anything like that, puts their investigation and their livelihoods in jeopardy because you don't have the officers that have the understanding of the law and have the discipline to actually investigate these crimes.
Mate, I reckon it's worse.
Yeah.
So, look, I'll just reflect on our experience at the college. I admit it's 18 years ago, so give me a minute. Without being those old dudes who just go back in my day, well, no, not at all. We had it a lot softer in certain ways than people had before us. The PT was manageable, but it was still there, and it was well done. I thought there were critics. There's always going to be critics of everything, but we had to maintain a good high standard of physical fitness at the college. That was because there's something about physical fitness that relates back to discipline, and it relates back to there's something bigger than you. This job requires commitment. Like, I know we talk about mental health and all the rest of it. Yes, of course, you have to look after people's mental health, but people must understand coming into something like policing, it's a hard job. This is a job that's not for everybody. I would even say it's not for most people. Oh, geez. So it's getting out of bed to go to PT, people might consider hard. Do you know what's harder? Turning up to dead humans all over the road at a car crash. That requires resilience. It requires discipline. You need to put other people far above you. You need to hold back your emotion for a while in order to deal with the situation objectively that needs to be dealt with without emotion. It needs to just be dealt with. You then need to deliver that news to the loved ones of the people who you've just scooped off the bloody road and put in those body bags. So that's one aspect of it. The other thing is you are the people who protect those who can't protect themselves. It takes, and this might sound like a little bit, what's the word, unpopular,
Yeah.
but it takes a little bit of prick to stand up to someone and go, no, you listen, hey, you listen to me, but no, you bloody listen to me. This is how it's going to be. You will do this or I will arrest you. Well, you're not going to arrest me. And then it takes someone else to go, I am arresting you. And it doesn't matter what you do. I will raise the bar and raise the bar and I will raise it to the point where I blow your head off. You are getting arrested. That's how it is. And I say that this is reality. If you don't like it, don't be a cop.
Yeah.
Because the fact of the matter is, if someone doesn't want to be arrested, you're going to force them to be arrested. If they fight you, you're going to fight back. You're going to slam handcuffs on them and you're going to skull drag them into a cage with them kicking, biting, spitting the whole way. If they pull something on you that is potential for lethal force, you're going to pull out what is on your hip that will provide lethal force and you're going to provide it. It's not for the faint of heart. This may sound ridiculous and it may sound that people go, oh, bloody cops, blah, blah, blah. No worries. Have the responsibility to protect the community and go and do it. And do it well. Don't just, oh, we have to run away. It was scary. No, sorry. I'm not saying we're reckless and we push it forward. We come with a very pre-planned approach, and it might be that we use a lot of numbers and we use skill, but we don't back off. We get the job done. We might back off temporarily. We come back and get the job done. We harm minimize. We're not the ones who carry out the violence. But if the violence has to be done to stop other people being violent, you have to step up to that.
Definitely, mate. I could not put it better myself. And that is, you are so accurate in that analogy of how the job is. It is not for the faint-hearted. And there are times, and how many times I almost see it weekly, where Queensland police use lethal force, all right,
Yeah.
on somebody. It's happening more and more often. And the problem is,
I
if
will say
we
justified lethal force. It's just
exactly, exactly, yeah, and it look, you cannot produce substandard cops to be able to do that because you need the disciplined one to be able to fire a gun and do it accurately and do it within the justification it needs to, and you need to know the legislation behind it,
Yeah.
so you can actually carry out within the law. It's, I mean, the fact is, if you can't pass an exam, sorry, you
Yeah.
you're not in. And I didn't pass everyone the first time, but I passed the
But
resits.
mate, you got your bottom smacked
I
big
did.
time. Like, I remember being there when I remember that. You were being told no shit conversations. Lift your game or you're gone.
Yep.
Same with fitness. It was there.
Yep.
So I'll just go through. I've got it here in front of me as well. I'll just refer back so we'll just be a little bit objective and not just be two screaming banshees.
All
But
right.
so, all right, PT is now completely optional. Well, I don't really like going to domestics, so I don't want to go to domestics anymore. I don't want to go. I don't want to do domestics. I find them really annoying. I just want to, I just want to go and cuddle people and drink coffee. So go and be a barista. I'm
Yeah.
not running down baristas. I fucking love coffee. But I'm sorry, you joined the police. Like, fitness is, um, basically optional. All right. Okay. No worries. International recruiting. I'm not against international recruiting, but they have to maintain the standards.
Yeah.
And you have to kind of understand the culture because I know, and you would agree with this, there were so many times where we could see culturally what was going on, especially within Indigenous culture and especially within just young, bloody Aussie drinking culture. You can look through it and you can see what's going on. You can make an assessment, but you have to have a pretty good knowledge of the culture that you're dealing with.
Yeah.
So, mate, both of us have been to multiple hundreds of incidents in remote areas where if you turned up and you had never sort of understood what's going on, you would go, we need a battalion of infantry to take down this. This is a civil war. This is how bad this is. It takes that experience and that knowledge and that toughness and that ability to be resilient and all those things, put yourself back a little bit and just understand what other people are up to go, no, it's okay. We'll protect life, but we need to harm minimize this situation. It's extremely intimidating. There's
Yeah.
violence, there's weapons, there's horrendous injuries all around you. But if you go in there and pull a gun and start shooting, it's going to just do nothing but turn this into a civil war. So you need to respond in a certain way. That takes an understanding of culture, and that is born over time. But I think it's fine to be an international recruit, but I think you need to come in with an open mind and go, right, I just need to learn about the culture as much as I need to learn about the laws and how you do this job and how you are trusted and how you work together with other people to get this job done.
Yeah,
Um,
mate. Just sorry, mate. I'll just
yeah, right. Yeah, no, all good.
we had, and we had a number of it was international. I remember one especially came across from the intervention, and so we're actually in a pursuit, and he's driving, and he actually turned to us and goes, "What's that? What's your collision policy?" And of course, we
Yeah.
don't have a collision policy.
No,
So so that just reiterates what you said. You've got to understand the area that you're working in and living in, and the jurisdictional rules or legislation. And also, I mean, culturally, look at the Northern Territory. You've got so many different Aboriginal groups. And look, in saying that, different parts of even the Northern Territory are different. The Aboriginals are different in each one. So you have to understand the area that you're in.
yeah,
It
definitely.
is vitally important. And so this then goes back to, if you are not getting the disciplined officers coming out of recruits to get trained, you are going to, sorry, and excuse my language, you're going to fuck up the police force. You're going to fuck up the community. It's a snowball effect.
Yeah,
Um, and it's just going to get worse. Yeah, and the problem is also it compounds by the fact I had a big gripe even when I was in. There was a lot of we were. I was fortunate. There was probably people not quite as fortunate as I was, although I think we were fairly lucky. We had trained officers training us once we got out of the recruits, because we did not know a thing when we came out of college. But the problem is that's now compounded by the fact, even after us, there is not trained officers or highly trained officers training those recruits that come out of the college to be police officers. So then the problem's compounded.
yeah,
And then as that follows on, it's only going to get worse. So
yeah.
it's,
It's. I know a lot of people will be going, "Oh, but I see plenty of fat cops." I see it's not about that. They might have been in for a very long time and they can do their job and they've probably proven themselves, and some not. And we know all that. But um, to be a recruit, to get through recruit college takes a certain amount of ticker. Back in the day, or like
yeah,
we had people fail off our squad. I remember Squad 80 that was still famous when we went through. Squad 80 went through in 2004 in Darwin, and they were called Survivor Squad. There was I don't know the exact number, but there was quite a number of people who were failed off that squad because the the instructor on that particular course, the sergeant, I don't think he was overly popular, but he just said, here's the line, you're over it or you're under it. And if you're under it, you're gone.
yep,
And as much as he mightn't have been popular with that recruit squad at the time, I think if you speak to those graduates of Survivor Squad, Squad 80, um, they are some excellent police. They really are. That set the tone for them when they were in recruits. It was ship up, it was shape up or ship out. It was
yep,
just, you will achieve this. If you don't achieve that, you can find employment elsewhere.
yep,
It sets the tone for it. So I think I said before, I think I mentioned PT's optional. It's not. It's the morning parade is basically optional. So that to me means if you don't really feel like getting out of bed today, you don't have to. Look, fine. If you don't feel like getting out of bed today, get a job that accepts that, because the fact of the matter is you are letting down. If you just have a day, oh, I don't feel like getting out of bed today, you have no place in the police force. The
yep,
idea is, mate, we used to turn up. I mean, we'd everyone's called in sick, but we used to turn up to work hungover in the early days. I'll give you that. If there might have been a night out, okay, but you'd always show up. You'd probably get sent nowhere near a motor car and be, you're not wearing a gun belt. Get the hell out. And it was frowned upon, but you fronted. If I've been sent home from work because I come in at work sneezing and coughing and carrying on, and they go, "Get out! You're going to make everyone sick."
yep,
I'm not saying when you're legitimately sick, stay at home. It's just, it is a bit irresponsible to turn up to your workplace and inflict everyone with the same diseases. But if you just couldn't be bothered turning up, then that means you just couldn't be bothered protecting the community, and you just couldn't be bothered, and you're not really going to step it up.
yep,
It, I think why we're so offended by this is because we were proud cops. We were proud of what we did. I remember going above and beyond, and not to any level, even equal to the way that many others did that went far above and beyond. It's not about us individually, but I mean, we were proud of what we achieved and what we did and our service. I look back with a lot of pride in what we did in some there was times that were terrifying. There were times that were horrendously upsetting, but we couldn't show it at the time. I bloody showed it later to myself anyway, but we did all that. It's, you know, if you can't be bothered getting out of bed to go to a morning parade while you're in recruit training at police college or police academies, how are you going to go and tell the mother of a teenage child that their son's just been splattered in a motor crash? Like, I'm sorry, but you've got no character. You don't have the ability to do that job.
Yeah, I completely agree, mate. And look, yeah. And look, I've been thinking. So there was, you mentioned Squad 80. There was also a squad after us where the instructor tried to do exactly the same thing. However, he was overridden and said, no, they will graduate, even though he argued against as much as possible. And I've spoken about it before. That slowed our police force down. When they came out,
Yeah.
and that's when I think I started spending more time fixing up other people, other cops' fuck ups
Yeah.
than I did actually doing my own job. So you're then taking away, and I mean, they're talking about keeping police in the job. Well, if you make it harder for the officers already on the job,
Yeah.
they're going to fucking leave.
Yeah.
That's the end result.
Yep.
So, and that was part of it for me. Like I said, I spent more time either justifying my job or fixing up other people's mistakes. And to fix up a mistake once it's been made takes probably 4 times longer,
Way
and
harder.
sometimes you can't fix it.
Yep.
So, and I noticed. Sorry, mate. I'll just
Yeah.
a few other things here. So I know this. The PT thing started, and I remember my ex-wife when she joined. There was also a thing where they were complaining about going to PT and all that sort of stuff, and they made it more lax. And I was extremely pissed off then. There was also later on, and I think you'll vouch for this, when you did your detectives, you had a certain standard you had to reach. However, the ones in Darwin were signed off before your sergeant wanted to sign you guys off, but then he
Yep.
signed you off because otherwise he'd be holding you back.
Yeah.
And look, if you drop those standards, then you drop the standards of major crime, which
Yeah.
is an absolute. It's disgusting.
Yeah.
I have friends, and I am personally invested in helping people. And I remember even saying then when that happened, I said, if you get sexually assaulted, call me. I said, do not trust some of those people that are coming out there because I don't trust them.
Yeah.
And that is a big thing to say. And I'm
But the
sorry.
thing was, back then it was rare. It was
It
really
was.
rare. Like,
Yeah.
it wasn't most. It was the odd one. Go, oh, how'd he get his designation? Like, there was the odd one. But the trouble is, sorry, I'll just backtrack a little bit. I was just going to comment on something earlier.
Yeah.
The other thing is that you can't soften the actual job. So you can soften the training all you like. You can soften the requirements, but you can't soften the job. The fact of the matter is, the crooks don't give a shit. It's going to happen. Jobs are going to kick off. You can never be tough enough to take on the world, but you can certainly have a start point. And I don't apologise for saying that you have to have grit. You have to be relatively tough to do this job. It doesn't mean you have to be a man or a woman. It just means you have to be tough.
Yep.
Relatively tough. And there are times when you have to be tender. So you have to be quite intellectually intelligent to do this job. Well,
Yeah.
I should say.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, so you're setting people up to fail. They're going to come out and they're just going to hit this brick wall. They're going to be let through doors, whereas beforehand the doors would slam shut and they go, you are not good enough, you're out. Whereas now, oh, yes, welcome, here's your badge. Go out and do your job. And then they hit the road and someone calls them a bloody... Oh, my great aunties listen to this. I can't really say the C word. But anyway, you're going to get something smacked in your face and you're just going to go, oh, my God, I can't possibly do this job. Well, they've just paid for you to do 6 months of training, and now you're fully uniformed, you're out, and they think they've got a police officer. Mate, you should see the resignations. I've seen the Gazette from the Northern Territory Police in recent years. Not regularly, but I have seen the odd one. And resignations, just constable after constable. It was normally resignations. You see one or two names, and they were like really old numbers, and you just go, oh, geez, old such and such has finally resigned, or finally retired generally. But now they reckon you see stacks of constables because they're coming out of the colleges and the academies going, oh my God, this is horrible. I can't do this job. I don't
Yep.
want to work nights. That's terrible. I just want to work day shift. Well, you have to earn that.
Mm.
When you come in as a raw recruit, you're doing night shift. I'm sorry. Everyone does night shift. And, if down the track you've developed your skills and you get into a job where you don't have to do night shift, then whatever. But, night shift's part of the job. I don't want to do evening shifts. They're a bit rough. Tough.
Yeah, that's right.
You don't get to pick and choose because someone has to do it. And
Yep.
what happens then is your good coppers who are out there just doing their business, plugging along, they just get shafted with all the shit jobs because they don't make any noise. They just do their job and they get to a point where they go, you know what, you can stick this. And what you're doing is you make the job no good for those in there. There's multifacets to this. You set people up for failure who are coming out of the college. You set up your police at that middle level, senior constable, sergeant level, who are good coppers, good, solid coppers who are just happy to do their job, but they want to feel supported by the other people doing their job as well. Well, they get very, very bloody disheartened and they go, you know what? I don't need this rubbish in my life. If other people can just get the soft way out, then I'm taking the soft way out too. See you later. I'm not sacrificing myself for this crap. You get that? You also get people who promote rapidly through the system because they might be academically whatever and they have no experience in the job, and all of a sudden they're commanding people who have experience in the job. The problems are terrible. I don't Softening the entry is not the answer. The answer is making the job more appealing to those who are there and doing it well, rewarding those people who do the job well.
Yeah.
Not necessarily financially, just with requests. Like, I've been doing this job really solidly for 5 years. Is there any chance I can have a break with this or whatever? Just support those people who do it well instead of
Yeah.
burning them out and
Mate,
having them leave.
you just reminded me of something, and this is part of the reason why I left. And I've never mentioned it before, but I remember there was a couple of serious investigations, even when I was out at Borroloola or even Ramangini. And what used to happen in the old days was the fact that you were out there, even though I was trained as a detective. I worked in that as a plainclothes connie for a number of years. So a lot of stuff was put to me to investigate at a higher level normally than what other people would do because I was trained to do it. The problem was back in the day, even if you were trained at that level, if you're out bush or something because you're doing general duties or frontline policing, you then what you do is you pass up to say this actually requires a detective who has the time to actually look into this. Whereas we're getting called out for jobs. There is a number of ones that I actually sent in going, I honestly cannot do this and my frontline duties or my general duties. It's at a detective level. I don't have the time, and it was pushed back on me, going, "No, we can't do it." Whereas back in the day, the detectives would sit there and go, "Yep, okay, we'll take care of that.
Yeah,
Don't worry about it. If we need anything, any follow ups, we'll just get you to do them. But
yeah,
we'll hold the file and we'll do it up," which is the way it should be. However, it was put back on me,
yeah,
sitting there going, "Well, no," and that was people passing on the buck. Whereas I know when I worked investigations, if it came in, we did it.
yeah,
And that put a lot of pressure on me, and that was part of my reason for leaving because I then felt that my support network wasn't there,
yeah,
which was which is a big part. So, and obviously, it's going to be worse now, especially if they're getting these sort of officers that are
yeah.
substandard coming into the police force.
Yeah. Oh. Anyway, look, we're getting to our time. We don't like to be negative, but this is pretty important. This is very important.
Yeah,
Um, we've got escalating crime. We've got very, very bold youth offenders in this place. It used to be that if youth offenders got caught, even by a little old lady going, "Hey, what are you up to?" and they'd bolt. Now they'd probably tell her to stick it up her butt and go from there, or if not, assault her.
yeah,
Um, you see the brazen level of courage that these kids have because they have no consequence. Well, that's going to get worse. There has to be a line in the sand. It has to be whack. This is not accepted, and there are consequences for your actions. And that has to occur. It's too late by the time that they're committing, aggravated robberies with weapons and hurting people and committing violent home invasions in order to steal motor vehicles. I'm sorry, when you do that stuff, you go into jail for life. You're out. You're
Yep.
done.
Yep.
This needs to be nipped in the bud with a very, very strong smack on the bottom when they're a lot younger than that, before it's escalated to the point where they're literally living Grand Theft Auto.
Yep.
It's no. But
Yep.
anyway, we could rant about this all day. I think it just makes. I think we had to talk about this tonight because I wasn't sure. I was going to ask you, what do you think? We should do something funny or lighthearted or anything. And then you sent me that message, and I just went, oh my God.
Yep.
It's
It, it,
confirmed. It's confirmed. There it is from a
it is.
recruit who's trying to take his career seriously.
Yep. Yep. Exactly.
And I really want to put this out there for any recruit instructors, police recruit instructors listening. I relate more to the instructors and to the officers in charge in colleges, because that's where I'd be. That's what I'd be at. So I want to hear from you. And I'm telling you now, you have our life assurance that we will never identify who you are.
Yep.
But we just want this information because, oh, excuse me, I breathed in a mosquito, I think, because it's important that this can't occur. Like this is not good.
No.
I know that everyone has a shot at the cops, but then they all still call them, don't they? Because at the end of the day, they know the police can turn up and sort something out. It's something that you can't fail in. It's like dropping the standards of entry, and this is an extreme version, but a lot of people like the analogy. You would never drop the extreme levels of the SAS to get into. To get into the Special Air Service Regiment is extremely difficult. To stay there is extremely difficult. The standards are extremely high. Your expectation of performance is perfection. Now, policing's not that. It can't be that, because you need far more people, and it's a different role. A lot of the role is social, and it's actually interacting with the community. It's there are times when you need to pull your stick out, but most of the time you're standing there with a carrot. So
Yep.
that's fine. That's how the job is. But this is important for the community, and I know a lot of people feel passionately about this. They want to ring the police, and they want to see two capable people get out of that vehicle and deal with stuff.
Yep.
They don't want to see two people get out and whinge and whine and carry on, and they want shit dealt with.
Yep.
That's why it's a hard job. It is meant to be a hard job.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. And look, I'll say, look, and I'll direct this at the government, whichever one it is, or like
Yeah.
politicians, and even the hierarchy in the police. I will not let you tarnish the police force,
Yeah.
because we worked bloody hard, and our professionalism was top notch, because it had to be. It was expected. The community expected it,
Yeah.
and I will not let you tarnish our police force
No.
with
For a
your
short-term solution for numbers,
exactly.
it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
There's no longevity in it.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
So,
Anyway,
mate, I
angry
reckon.
note. Yeah.
So yeah, look, and again, get in contact with us, completely anonymous, because yeah, I think this is we've got something in our bonnet. We've definitely got to be in our bonnet about this, and both of us feel very passionately about it, and I think the community as well. And for somebody to actually bring it up to us, they feel passionate about it as
Yeah.
well. So
I guarantee you there are rank and file, and I would even say high-ranking people in the police forces around the country who 100% agree with us and are tongue-tied and are held back and are doing things in academies and colleges that are making their skin crawl, but they're
yeah,
being ordered to do it. They're probably very torn. They're probably feeling very torn. What am I doing here? And then they're also feeling a sense of duty, because that's what they were designed to do this stuff. There would be extraordinarily competent police officers with lots of experience at the relatively middle to high rankings in the academies, dealing with these guys and having to go, oh shit, we just have to pass them.
yep.
And it would be making their skin crawl. We want to hear from you.
Yep, exactly. Yes, and yeah, definitely. And the fact is, and this all goes back to what we will talk about one stage, and that's the separation of powers. Because from my put in it, there's too much political influence
Oh yeah,
in how this is happening, and the politicians. We've said it before. Police are held to account on the highest standard. Politicians aren't,
no,
and it's disgusting.
yeah.
So Mate, I reckon we can just about almost finish it up with that.
I reckon we probably should, mate. We're going to get proper angry soon. Yeah, no,
Hey,
all good, mate.
mate, I thought I'd just make a quick joke before we go, though. You said you swallowed a mosquito. It's better than the fly off a dead body, though, isn't it?
Well, there's two of them. I think we've already told that story.
You have.
Yeah, no, but yes, you are correct. I watched the little bugger. I took a breath and he hit me right in the throat. But anyway, that's okay. It was probably a government spy.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
All right, mate. Well, you want to close it off?
Yeah, look, we understand that we love the funny stuff. We really do. We like to keep it light, but these things are too important. I mean, we're passionate people. We did a job that I can put my hand on my heart and say we did a good job. We weren't always perfect. No one's ever perfect. But I think we did a good job in a good time in the Northern Territory Police Force, in very difficult circumstances to the best of our ability. And for that, I'm proud. And I know you are as well. And it irks us to see this. So that's why we've done this episode.
Yeah, definitely. And look, there will be more to come. And look, please get in contact with us because this is something we will not take lightly.
Yeah.
Because it is the benefit of the community and the frontline officers. It's so important.
Yeah.
So anyway, mate, we'll see you all next week.
All the best.